right, welcome back to video number 2. On this video, I'm going to show you how to map out your first few churches, your first few activities, and also add detached members and invite actual members with emails associated with them to your account. So let's go. Type your email. All right, so we're back here on our main menu. So the first thing we're going to do is log our very first church. And so right there you can see Carter's team. This is the only team currently in the workspace. And what we're going to do is we're going to click the top left hamburger menu to open up the side menu. Click on Carter's team and go ahead and click on churches. Okay, so this is where you're going to begin to map out your churches. So this little icon down here, the little plus icon underneath Carter's team, you're going to just click on that. And then you're going to click on church formation. All right, so if there are other people that you want to tag onto this church as administrators or contributors, you can add them right here if they've already joined your workspace, or if you've created them as a detached member, which we'll talk about in a second. Then you select your location. So this is where that default location comes in. So right there, OKC, that is a default location that I went ahead and set in my preferences. First question is it active? You can put yes. When's the date that it started? I'm just going to put that it started February 1. What's the name? I'm just going to call this Carter's HC. Is it a church? Yes. How often does it meet? Once a week, less than once a week, more than once a week. I'm just going to put more than once a week. So now you're going to begin to see icons that are reflective of the activities of the church in Acts chapter 2. So if you read Acts 2:36-47, you'll see that there were leaders in the first church. They were practicing baptism, the Lord's Supper, making disciples. They were practicing giving, regular teaching from the Word or the apostles' teachings, practicing service or loving one another, having accountability, practicing prayer, and practicing praising God. So you're just going to go through each of these metrics and say yes or no based upon what the church is practicing. So I'm going to go ahead and not select a few of them just so that you can see what that means. So on leaders, I'm going to say no, there's no leaders yet. Practices baptism, I'm going to say yes, but we'll say that we're not doing our own baptism. Maybe another leader is coming and doing the baptism for us. For Lord's Supper, yes, and then yes, we are serving Lord's Supper in the church. The second question basically is asking, is the church members within this church have authority to actually serve the Lord's Supper themselves, or do they have to have an outside leader come in and serve it for them? Are they making disciples? I'm going to say yes. Are we practicing giving? I'm going to say no. Regular teaching from the Bible, yes. Give zone teaching, again, same question as above. Is this group or church giving its own teaching, or is it not giving its own teaching from within the body? If a leader is coming from the outside in, then you would say no, it's not giving its own teaching. If the church itself has members or leaders that are giving their own teaching, you're going to say yes, it's giving its own teaching. Practices love and service. I'm going to say no on accountability. Practices prayer, and practices praising, yes. So then you're going to go ahead, and this is again where those default languages come in. So we're just going to go ahead and say this is a Spanish-speaking church. And then this is where you indicate the number of attenders, the number of believers and baptized per people group. Now this is just for example's sake, but I'm going to go for each people group and say how many attending, how many believers, and how many baptized from that people group. So we're going to say Mexican, Spanish-speaking, Roman Catholics. We're going to say that there is 3 of those people. And we'll say that there's 2 believers and 2 baptized of that group. If you want to add another people group right here, we could add another. We'll go ahead and say that this people group, so you can say this is the second one, is Arabs, speaking Levantine Arabic, Sunni background, that there's 2 of them. They're both believers, and they're both baptized. And we'll go ahead and add a third. We'll say that there's a Nepali person. So it's going to, whenever you click add another, it's going to drop you down to the bottom, so you got to scroll up a little bit. But we'll say that this is a Gurkha Nepali. He's speaking Nepali, he's Hindu background, 1 believer, and 1 baptized. Quite the interesting church we have here. You can go down, and if you want, it's not required, but you can select what segment that this would include. And then you can leave any comments. We'll just say Carter's first HC. This is just for your own sake. It's not required. And you go down and you hit submit. As soon as you hit submit, you're going to see that first church circle right here. Now you'll notice a few things are missing, or they're kind of grayed out. You'll see the leader is grayed out because it said we didn't have any leaders. Baptism is actually outside of the church circle. And then the others, you've got the giving, the practicing accountability. You got the word outside indicating it's being done, but it's coming from outside the group or church. And then at the top, it's aggregating the total number of believers or of attenders on the left-hand side as 6, the number of believers 5, and the number of baptized 5. Now, if I ever wanted to go in and change this, again, I could simply click on this church, click Edit Activity, and then you would go in and actually indicate the different metrics here. So I'm going to indicate, yes, it has appointed leaders. We'll put that I'm the leader of this HC, I'm a male, and I've been trained. Yes, we're doing our own baptism. Yes, we're giving. Yes, we're doing our own teaching. Yes, we're practicing accountability. And then whenever I go down here at the bottom and hit save or submit, and then I click the X at the top left, you'll see how this changes the icon. So Carter's HC is the name, and then Carter is the leader of this particular church. Now this would technically be considered like a Gen 1, or maybe someone would consider this a Gen 0. If you want to put another church that's not been started by this church, or another group that's not been started by this group alongside here, you can by clicking the plus at the top. If you want to put in a daughter or a child church, you would click the plus right here. So let's go ahead and just put another daughter church below this. I'm going to click the plus button, church formation, church or group. Now this time I'm going to go ahead and click the default OKC, but I'm going to move the map icon just a little bit. I'm going to say, it doesn't meet here. It actually meets over here on the other side of the river. Hit continue. Is it active? Yes. The date it started. We'll put this one started a couple weeks ago. The name, or we'll just call it Daughter Church. And instead of marking it as church, I'm just going to say no, it does not identify as church yet, and you're going to see the difference here. So appointed leaders, we'll say yes, we've got a leader. We'll say that it's Joel. And we'll say he's male, but he's still in the process of being trained. So we'll put no on the trained question. Practicing baptism, we'll put yes, but they're not doing it themselves. Maybe someone else is coming. And we'll just say that they're doing regular Bible teaching from that local leader. They're loving one another. They're praying and they're praising. And then down here on the unknown, we'll just go ahead and say, this is Mexican, Spanish speakers, Roman Catholic background, that there's 6 people and 6 believers, and we'll say that there's 3 baptized. And this is, we'll say, among the college students. So again, we'll go down here and hit submit, and you'll see what this looks like. So you're going to see a little gray minus symbol. If you click on that minus symbol, it's going to open up what's below it. So again, the plus is going to minimize, and then the minus is going to open. You can also do this from the icon at the top. There you'll see 5 icons across the top. One is an edit pencil, which I'll show you here in a second. One is an orientation of the gen map, so you can kind of turn the gen map in whatever orientation you want to put it. The next one would be expand all, but it's already all the way expanded anyways, but we'll say that wasn't expanded. If you click expand all, it's going to expand it quickly, and then a shortcut for collapse all, and the collapse all is going to collapse everything. So expand all, collapse all, and then this little download button in the far right, that's if you want to download a PNG of the church, and that would download it. And you could download this to your system or share it with a friend or a family member, or maybe you're doing an iron on iron. So here we are back in our church circle right here. And again, you'll notice here the dashed line represents a group instead of a church. A solid line represents that this gathering identifies as a church. So we're going to do another, we'll call this a Generation 1 or Generation 0 group over here, and I'm going to show you how to edit if you want to restructure the gen map. All right, so I just filled out the bare minimum metrics, and it's just called new to. I don't have a leader name, and they're not practicing any of the functions. But say I put this out at Gen 0, and I was like, actually that belongs underneath Carter's HC. If I want to restructure the gen map, I can simply click the pencil icon on the top left underneath the search bar, and I can literally click on the church and drag it into the stream that I want to drop this church under. So this will drop it under here. If I wanted to restructure this one underneath here, I could go like that. If I wanted to pull it back into Gen 0, I could pull it all the way back up to the top, let go. Maybe I could pull this one all the way to the top and let go, and it's all Gen 0 churches. So that is basically how you restructure the gen map, and it's pretty simple. So this is basically how you track your first church. And now I want to show you a simple way to add users, whether they are detached users that don't have an account or to invite other users as friends. So if you want to add users to a team, click the hamburger menu at the top left of the screen. And underneath the menu, you're going to click on members and click on members. And right now it's saying that there's only one member a part of this workspace, a part of this specific team. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some more members to this actual team. So we'll say that I wanna add some members to this team who don't have an account. Maybe they never even plan on getting an account, but I wanna go ahead and be able to add them to activities just in the event that they ever did get an account, that I could transfer that data to their account. Or if I just wanted to, at the end of the year, be able to index the different activities in my workspace by user. So the little 3 dots on the top right, you're going to click on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a member. So create a member. I'm going to create 3 members. So we'll say I'm discipling a guy named Joel and hit create. We'll say create another member. We'll say I'm discipling a name Britton. Create, and we'll say I'm discipling a member named Talbot and hit create. So you'll notice that these are detached members because it says has account and there's a little X next to their name. Now if I wanted to go and add them to a church, now that they've been added as members to this team, I can simply go back to churches and maybe I say, okay, up here at this top church, I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to click on members, and I'm going to add one of the members that's a part of this team. So I'm going to hit add member, and I can search for it, and we'll say Britton's a part of this church, and then also Talbot is a part of this church. Click done, and click add members. So those 3 members are now members within this specific church right here under my members. If I ever want to take one of them away, I would simply click on the pencil icon, and I could either edit the member details, change the permissions, or remove them from the team altogether. Okay, so now I'm going to go down and add Joel to another church. So I'm going to go to members again, click plus members, add a member, and then click Joel. Click add members. So now I've added some members or maybe some people I'm working with that don't have an account to the actual workspace. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually add another one of my emails to this church just so that you can see what it looks like in order for a new person who has a different email or a different user to be added to an account. So I'm going to go into members and I'm going to invite one of my other emails, invite member. And then I'm going to log out of this account and log into my other account. So I'm going to hit send invite. Okay, so now that I've invited my other user into this workspace, I'm going to just look at the status of that invite. So in order to do that, you got to click the 3 dots at the top right and then click on members and then click on the 3 dots one more time and say manage invites. So right there it's saying that Carter Hourglass Travel has been invited on this date, and then I can click show accepted, but it's not actually going to show anything at all because there's no accepted yet. But I'm going to go ahead and log out and log into my other user just so that you can see what a new member that's been invited to a church or a team can actually see. So I'm going to log in with my other user. Now that I'm logged into my other user that I had invited to the workspace from my Carter at Solid Strategic user, I'm going to click up here and click View Pending Invites. And there it's saying, it says Workspace, Carter Workspace has invited you. So I'm going to hit Accept. I'm going to go through and agree that I am joining into his workspace. Now, whenever I open up this workspace. So you can see here, it says Carter HC. I can see what workspace I'm in here. If I click the 9 boxes up in the top left, it shows I'm in Carter's workspace. And I can see that Carter's HC is the only thing that I'm a part of. If I click on churches, I actually can only see that very church that I was invited into. I cannot see the downline. Again, until Carter changes my permissions, the only thing I can do is see this church. I can't even actually edit this church because I'm not an admin on this actual church. Now I can track activities on this church, but I can't edit the actual church itself unless Carter, my other email, changes my permissions. So I'm gonna go back into my other account, and I'm gonna change the permissions of Carter number 2, who accepted my invite. Okay, so I'm back in my Carter@solidstrategic.com user, and I'm gonna go into my churches, and then I'm gonna go into the members up here and go to members, and I'll see right there, it looks like Carter Travel has accepted and is a part of the church. So it says his role currently, who I invited, is as a team member. And that's why I could only see the church circle. I couldn't see any of the downstream. But if I went in and I wanted to make him an administrator, that would allow him to not only view all the activities underneath this church and for this church, but also edit the activities. But we'll just say, I just want to make him a team network viewer so that he can see all of the downstream as well. As soon as I click save, this is going to allow that other user that I invited to be able to see the downstream as well. He can't edit the downstream, but he can see the downstream. Just for the sake of example, I'm going to log out again of this user and log back into the Carter Hourglass Travel user, just so that you can see the difference now that I changed the permissions. So here we are, back in the workspace. This is Carter's workspace that I was invited to. I click on Carter's HC, click on churches, and you'll see I can now see the downline. So I could add churches onto the bottom of this here. I can't add any churches from the top, but I could add churches off of Carter's HC. I could also add churches off of down here, but again, I cannot edit these churches because I'm not actually an administrator on these churches. So this may be complex and confusing. If you watch this a couple of times, you'll understand the robustness of the permission set, and I'm always happy to take any questions if you want to reach out to me via email. I'm going to go ahead and log out of this and log back into the new account, and we're going to track our first activity. All right, so I'm back in my original user that I created new for this video, and I'm gonna go start tracking activities. Okay, so again, this is the activity dashboard. Currently, it's only showing that there's 3 members, 1 detached member, and 1 church. And again, this is on the Carter's team level, but it's not counting all the churches downline unless I go in here and say include subteams and hit apply. Now it's going to calculate the total amount of teams, members, churches, etc. So to add your first activity, whatever team or church that you are actually located in is where it's going to nest that activity. So if you want to track activities at the team level, you can track them right here by simply clicking the plus button, or if that team's already open, you can click the plus button at the top. But if you're actually wanting to track an activity for a specific church, go into the churches, and we'll say I want to track a few activities for Carter's HC. The first thing I want to do, and the most simple thing I know, is to click on the church and to pin it. So the little pin you see at the top right, I'm going to go ahead and pin that icon. Okay, and so now whenever I look in my menu on the left-hand side, I not only see Carter's team pinned, but down here under the churches, I see Carter's HC pinned. So if I click on that and click create an activity, that activity is actually going to live under Carter's HC, and that's what I want to do. So let's go ahead and just say that we did an entry activity. We'll say that we went on a prayer walk. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few other contributors. Let's say I'm going to add Talbot was with me. Hit add member. We'll say we were walking, prayer walking, maybe near where this group or churches started. So that little chained group or church location is going to default chained wherever you dropped this church location. But let's say, it was near there, but maybe it was down the street where we walked. Maybe we did a prayer walk over here. Hit continue. Maybe we spent 1 hour. Maybe it was on this date here, and around 5 o'clock. All of those aren't specifically required. The start date is required, but not the time. You can just leave that however it is. And we'll say that the people that we were praying for was for Levantine Arab-speaking Sunni Muslim background people. Maybe we were praying for business professionals. You could enter any notes here and hit submit. So now again, I'm going to go under activities for Carter's HC, and this is the activity dashboard specifically for Carter's HC. And if I look here on February 20th, it says that I had a prayer walk. If I scroll down a little bit more, that little light blue circle is where the church is located. The dark green is where I said the prayer walk happened. Again, I can scroll down a little bit farther and see that there is those two activities. There's a group or church when that started, and then there's also a prayer walk activity right here that says Carter and Talbot were a part of this prayer walk activity. Okay, so if I want to chain activities, you can actually chain activities on top of one another. We'll say I want to get really granular, and I want to chain a gospel conversation onto this prayer activity. So I'm going to hit the plus button and say evangelism gospel conversation. So I want this to be a part of the chained activity, since that was the same location where I dropped the prayer walk from up here at the top. So I'm going to click on chained, not chained group or church, because that's the church location, but the chained activity. Or I could get in and even get more specific and say, even though I dropped the prayer walk right here, we actually had the gospel conversation maybe over here in this building, and hit continue. Conversation type, maybe we prayed together, the gospel was shared, an opportunity to respond. Maybe we'll say the conversation was in Arabic, and then you can copy the details from the chained activity, and it will at least give you the people group, but then you have to open it up and say how many people. So maybe we'll say there was 3 red lights, 1 yellow light, and 1 green light. So you can go ahead and define the actual global segments, put it in any comments. Maybe we'll say Muhammad became a believer, but his friends did not. Done. Submit. All right, so now you can see 3 activities on the map. You've got your church, you've got an entry point right here, and then you've got a purple gospel conversation right here. So let's say Muhammad decided to get baptized on the 21st after we shared the gospel with him. So I'm going to go back on that gospel conversation. I'm going to chain another activity and click discipleship and click baptism. So again, we'll say it was me and Talbot, add member. I'm going to copy from the chain location. And then I'm going to say that this happened on the 21st. We'll say it happened on the next day. Again, copy from chain. So we'll say it was an Arab guy. We'll say one person actually got baptized, and then the type of baptism, and then any notes right here, and hit submit. So now again, you see there are 3 activities that happened in this same general area. We've got our church in light blue. We've got our prayer walk right here. We've got our evangelism and our baptism, the blue activity right there in that building. All right, fantastic. So now you have 3 activities. If you want to say, hey, the next day after we baptized him, we continued discipling him. So you could click link onto the baptism activity and say, we started a group with Muhammad, and click the church. And again, I'm going to click on the chained location, but maybe we'll say it was actually his house is over here, even though his business is right there. And we'll say continue. We'll say, is this active? Yes. The start date, we'll say that this started on the 22nd. We'll say M group. We'll say it's not a church yet and it doesn't have appointed leaders, but we did baptize the guy. Maybe we took the Lord's Supper and started teaching him how to make disciples, started doing some teaching, and maybe we are praying together. I'm going to go ahead and put copy from chain for the people group, and we'll just say that there are 1 baptized believer, which is Muhammad. And then we'll add that me and my brother are 2 white guys that are a part of it as well. So we'll hit other and we'll put white, there's two people, we're both believers, and we're both. So I'm gonna go down here and go ahead and submit this activity. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh that little button at the top. See if that go ahead and changes anything. I'm gonna go ahead and go into my churches. All right, so you will see that the M group actually automatically added right here because that was the new group that we started with Muhammad. Now in the Gen map, if you actually want to see a geographical location of all these, you can click the 4 squares at the top right and click map view, and it's going to show where these 3 gatherings are located. There's one here, and then there is the one that's across the river over here. You can also look at a table view of your groups and churches if you are trying to find a specific church to add an activity to. You can click on it on the table view and then go back to Gen map view for this. All right, so that is the basics of activities. Now let's go and look at all those activities. And again, you can look at them on the team or on the church level, so under this activity dashboard, or you could roll up all the activities at the parent team and look at the activities from this level. So again, in order to see all the activities, you're going to have to include sub-teams, go across the certain amount of date. You can also index by members that are added, like maybe you only want to see activities for Talbot. And if you hit apply for that, it's only going to show the activities that Talbot was involved in. If you clear his name out and hit apply, it's going to show all the activities in the sub-teams. Right here, it'll show a map of when the activities underneath the calendar, and then it's going to show a running list of the activities down here. So that is the basics of Gapp. I hope that's helpful. You know that you can add other activities as well. You can do a leadership development training. You can do a partnership and exit, so church member assessment or qualitative church assessment. You can do a field activity report. But the basics of this is entry, gospel, discipleship, church formation, leadership development, and adding those activities together over time. So on the next video, I'm going to walk you through the research tab and how you can actually pin different people groups that you are actually targeting for a team focus, both language and people groups, and use the existing IMB and Joshua project data to put a team focus on those people groups. So stick around for the next video.